These guys are friends.
With friends like that, let me tell you something right now. Oh, my goodness. And just look at the elevation.
Right.
This looks like a 25-year-old LeBron James.
It is, in fact, a 37-year-old LeBron James, but what a night he had. Gets it in the lane, makes a layup over his shoulder. That puts the Lakers up 117-111. Look at the move by LeBron. Now under 3 minutes to play. LeBron steps back and makes a fading jumper. He did it all, Tim.
Yeah, I don't know what that gesture was with his brain there. He did that about 5 times on the night. Clearly having fun, going back to his old stomping grounds. It energized him, spry legs, and he was just acting like a raw scorer, and that's why he said after the game he's having the time of his life. He's taking playmaking off the table. It's just scoring now.
Made every single play he could. That shot didn't even make sense. Lakers win by 11, and here's LeBron after it ended.
I'm literally having the time of my life right now. The game is such a beautiful thing, and as long as I'm healthy enough to put on a uniform, I'm going to play with a lot of passion, a lot of energy, give my teammates what they deserve, because I can care less about what the narrative about our team is. I've been, at my point in my career, I don't get involved in that stuff. I don't read about it. I don't hear it too much. None of that stuff matters to me. I'm having a blast playing a game of basketball.
Back now with Tim Legler. Now, he says he's having the time of his life. And this guy's won championships. He made a Space Jam movie. I mean, do you buy that he's having the time of his life trying to drag the Lakers into the playoffs?
Here's why I think he said it. It's what I said a second ago. I think the fact that he doesn't have to worry as much about facilitating the game. Look, he's still going to get his assists because he's got the ball the whole game. But that's not his primary focus. Right now, he can just go out and get buckets. And there's been very few times in his career when that is how LeBron James has played, which is kind of ironic because by about All-Star break next year, he's going to be the all-time leading scorer in the history of this league if he stays healthy. But he doesn't really think like a scorer, and that's why I think he said he's having so much fun. And look, these games are all important to the Lakers. So every night right now, he's trying to drag this thing across the finish line to put them in a position where they can maybe get AD back, hopefully get out of the play-in, which I'm not sure they're going to. And then you get to take on the Phoenix Suns most likely if somehow you survive the play-in. So there's a tough path ahead for the Lakers, but right now the meaning behind the games and the fact that he gets to go out there and just score, I think LeBron is having fun and he feels great physically, obviously.
And he is giving the Lakers hope, and that's what they're all about right now. The Magic Johnson, great former Laker, obviously, tweeted during or after that game, if the Lakers play with this type of effort, speed, and quickness on defense and offense, I think we could have a good playoff run, especially with Anthony Davis coming back. So, Tim, do you agree?
Depends how you define good playoff run. Are they going to beat the Phoenix Suns, the Golden State Warriors, or Memphis Grizzlies? No, the best of 7. I don't think you go from an unmitigated, disastrous regular season to just getting a guy back right before the playoffs start and going and making a run. No, look, they can get out of the play-in most likely, beat New Orleans in that first game and then win another game. And now you find yourself in a best of 7 with the best team in the league at exactly the time they're going to be getting Chris Paul back. I just don't think you can flick that switch. They tried it last year, got AD back right before the playoffs, and they got bounced in the first round by Phoenix. I see a similar scenario playing out this year.
Worth pointing out, Russell Westbrook, who's been struggling so much, had a big game last night too. So if that comes together, maybe. But yeah, AD's an if. LeBron's 37, so a lot to build hope on there in LA. But that's about all they have at the moment. Brings us to Philly, where the 76ers beat the top-seeded Miami Heat last night without Joel Embiid and James Harden. Tyrese Maxey had a game-high 28 points, puts the Sixers 2.5 games back of the number 1 seed in the conference. Tim, they did it without their 2 big superstars. What did you think of that decision for those guys not to play last night?
I hate it. I mean, I really do because, again, it's disrespectful to the league, to the fans, and it renders the regular season meaningless with as many games as guys miss. And I understand, what they're trying to do, but this is the second time James Harden has sat against the Heat since he got to Philly. I don't really get quite what that's about. Look, you go out and you win the game, and that's great. And Tyrese Maxey was incredible. But are you supposed to really take a lot out of that? No, because the guys that played great last night and had opportunities are not going to have the same opportunities when Harden and Embiid come back and play. So I don't take a lot out of it. I think the Heat were caught a little bit flat-footed by that decision. They weren't really completely ready to play to defend those guys the way that they played last night. So I don't take a lot out of them winning that game without their 2 stars. They've got to figure out how to close games with these 2 guys against a marquee defense, and that's why I wanted to see them on the court last night against Miami. They need to beat a team like that And they need to figure out how to play together in the tight moments because that has been an issue for them so far. And you're running out of time in the regular season. But I guess rest is the almighty in this league, and that's all that really matters. So I'm disgusted by it because I think fans that wanted to go down and see that game last night, anticipated it for a long time, didn't get to see their two stars play.
They were back-to-back games, but they were both home games, so it's not like
well,
they were
then sit
getting on
against
off
Toronto
planes.
and play against the Heat.
I got you. We agree. Much more from Tim Legler when we come back. But when we come back, because they have picked a successor for Matt Ryan, we're going to run the hurry up. Diana, start there in Atlanta, please.
Yes, Marcus Mariota back in Atlanta with Arthur Smith, the head coach. If you recall, Arthur Smith was an assistant coach in Tennessee when Mariota was the starter. And the thought process from what I can gather talking to people in Atlanta is they know what Marcus is. So they have a much better feeling and confidence that he can run the offense that Arthur Smith wants to run there compared to, let's say, a guy like Baker Mayfield, who we know is available, or Jimmy Garoppolo. Jameis Winston, and look, a lot of people were questioning whether or not he was going to return and some questions about that knee. But the sense the entire time was New Orleans, if they weren't going to get Watson, this was going to be their guy. It is going to be interesting to see whether or not Jameis Winston is going to have that same kind of a success that he was having in New Orleans from what you heard, without, of course, Sean Payton being there. Dennis Allen, of course, now the head coach. And then we know Baker Mayfield right now has requested a trade. He has pretty much threatened that he's not going to be showing up to work if he doesn't get traded. And the market right now is kind of cold. That's pretty much the best way to describe it. We know he wanted to play in Indy. That was a place that he wanted to get traded to. We know what Indy's plans were there, going for Matt Ryan. So now Baker, the Browns, they're just sitting and waiting for the right opportunity. And it's going to be interesting to see how this is going to play out, because I do think there's a bunch of different scenarios that we can discuss.
Baker obviously losing his job when the Browns traded last week for Deshaun Watson. So, Tim, when you look at Baker, is he still a guy that can start for somebody?
I think he is a guy that can start for somebody. I don't think that there's a spot for him to go in as the anointed starter. And I don't think that should be a huge surprise. I think we see this oftentimes with quarterbacks that are given an opportunity, whether it's all bad, some good, some bad, or there looks to be a ceiling on the guy. It's hard to find those chances. And oftentimes your best chance is to go somewhere where there is a starter who maybe, is got some struggles of his own. Wait for that guy to either get hurt or fail to get your opportunity again. And so I think that is probably the most likely path for him. His path may also be to go compete for somebody, with somebody, Sam Darnold, Drew Lock, somebody, like in that situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where we are. Like name me the spot where you're like, yep, come be our anointed starter. I don't think it exists.
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about. You talk about the class of 2018. Could you imagine having two players from the class of 2018, number one overall pick and the number 3 pick, fighting it out? Celebrity death match, so to speak.
You're talking about in Carolina if he went there with Darnold?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, he doesn't offer much to be desired, right? His leadership and how he handled adversity, doesn't want, do you want a guy like that in your locker room? Like, you'll give him a chance, but he needs to take a page out of Ryan Tannehill's book, right? Understand that it didn't work out. Look at Mitchell Trubisky, go somewhere and disappear and be quiet for a little while. I'm assuming that he won't be the lead of progressive commercials anymore going on. He's going to have to hand those keys to somebody, but he needs to kind of fade to black for a minute, kind of work on himself, work on his skill set, and become a better football player, because he speaks like he's a good quarterback, a franchise quarterback. Those aren't your lines.
But just a year ago, he is a top 10 quarterback. He ranks 10th in QBR.
Yeah,
in
with the
between
best
Tom
roster
Brady
in football.
No. They had the
roster in football.
27th ranked defense that season.
I mean,
this is just a year removed. We're not talking 3-4 years
okay,
ago.
we take Baker Mayfield away, and now we're talking about Cleveland as a Super Bowl contender. Why is that? Because they were a quarterback away. Because Baker Mayfield was a liability. They won in spite of him, not because of him.
Nobody here is saying that Baker Mayfield is better than Deshaun Watson. I think we could all
He's not better than probably 28 quarterbacks in the league.
Do you think he's better than Sam Darnold?
Is that saying much? Sam Darnold got replaced by Cam Newton.
So look,
Kirk Cousins.
Look, Carolina's got Darnold, right?
No, he's better than Kirk Cousins. Don't disrespect Kirk like that. You gonna let him do that in front of you?
He's not better than Kirk.
He's not better. All right, so Carolina's got Darnold, right? Making the same money, fully guaranteed Baker's making this year.
Yeah.
So they have their own problem there. Where's his spot? Like Seattle's open. Houston obviously didn't want him. He probably would have been in that trade.
Well, you look at it this way. Nobody wants to pay the price. Adam Schefter reported recently, too, that nobody wants to take on that contract, and no one wants to actually give up any of the draft compensation for him. So, there's theories of how this can go. Maybe a team waits to see if Cleveland cuts him. Right, that's always an option. I don't think he wants to be cut. Right, he wants his money.
He may want to,
but it may be so ugly there and so bad, and I'm sure he gets paid plenty from his Progressive commercials. Money may not be a thing at this point for him.
Plus, his salary is fully guaranteed. That $18.858 million, he'll get that either way.
The best thing for him would be cut, because then if he gets cut, he doesn't get traded somewhere where the path is harder. Like, so if you're Baker Mayfield, you would much rather be on the street and be able to choose, to say to Seattle, like, hey, let me come be part of Pete Carroll's compete every day and compete with Drew Lock. Hey, let me go down to Carolina where Matt Rule needs to win and go in and fight, have that chip on my shoulder that I had when I was a walk-on in college and trying to prove myself. Like, he is better served in that situation because your path to an opportunity is better than going somewhere, like you mentioned, Mitch Trubisky. Look, that may have to be his path, but Mitch went to Buffalo and didn't play because Josh was playing. And so you go to Buffalo, and fortunately for him, built up enough good equity there that he found an opportunity without playing. That typically doesn't happen. Marcus Mariota kind of a similar fashion. Like Marcus went to the Raiders thinking there's a chance that that Derek Carr would fall on his face and he'd get an opportunity. It didn't happen. Now, fortunately, because of the way things went, he gets an opportunity in Atlanta, but it's not the same type of opportunity that Ryan Tannehill got doing that same move in Tennessee with Marcus.
Can I ask you a question?
For sure.
Baker Mayfield, Tyler Huntley, backup for the Ravens. Who would you take?
Well, I think because of how Baltimore plays, Tyler's a better fit, But I think there are spots.
He's a better player.
Here's the deal.
Tyler or Baker?
Here's the deal. There are spots, and people want to hear, but like, would you prefer the backup in Dallas? The backup in Tennessee. There are spots.
What about Daniel Jones?
Baker
Mayfield or Daniel Jones?
Here's the deal, though. Here's the deal. People need to realize, is he a good backup?
Look,
okay, Mitch was a good backup. Certain guy, Ryan Tannehill went in and was fine saying, listen, I was a starter. I'm okay not being a starter.
Right, and he ended up winning the job from Mariota, so it's all musical chairs. Will there be one for Baker Mayfield when the music stops? We will come back to that later in the show, but for right now, we're going to switch to the NBA.